Good evening, everyone. You're all welcome to today's class. I want to believe you all had a great day. Please, if you can hear me and you can also see my screen, kindly drop an emoji or a comment, please. Thank you. All right, we're going to continue from where we stopped yesterday. We were not able to do much yesterday because of the technical glitch we kept on having. But today we're going to move straight into design. No long stories, just design. Now, quickly, we'll be using Photoshop for this very design, and this is what the Photoshop interface or landing page looks like. So the moment you launch Photoshop, it brings you here, right? Now, the first thing you need to do is to change the title of your document. You can see that here we have untitled 1. That's untitled -1. Now, this is not going to be, it doesn't really matter if you change it or not, but then professionally you're expected to change it. So I'm going to change it to Kudi. The unit of measurement I'm going to use is inches. So I'll just leave it here on inches. If you want to use something different, you can click on the drop down menu and then pick any other unit of measurement you understand best, or the unit of measurement you understand better. Now, coming here, I will leave it on 16 because my design is going to be a 16 by 16 inch by 16 inch flyer. So my width is going to be 16. My height is also going to be 16. Please, in most cases, you don't see fit in some of the design tools unit of measurement. So in a case where you cannot find fit and you are trying to create a banner, something that is very large, you are expected to use the multiples of 12. Multiples of 12 in the sense that if you are creating a 1 by 2 banner, you know that 12 inches make 1 feet, because 1 by 2 means 1 feet by 2 feet. So 12 inches make 1 feet. That means the upper part, the width is going to be 12 inches. Now, because it's 1 by 2, the bottom part, or the height rather, is going to be 2 times 12 for you to get the 2 feet. But if you have feet as a unit of measurement on the design tool you're using or the software you're using to create your design, you can just go ahead and pick feet. But in some cases, you don't see feet. Like in Photoshop currently, this very version does not have feet. We only have inches. So if we are creating a banner now, we're going to work with the multiples of 12, having in mind that 12 inches make 1 feet. Now, you don't have to tamper with this orientation because whatever value you enter in the width and the height input box will determine what orientation you're going to get. So in this case, we're going to get a perfect square. Why? Because we have our width and our height to be the same. Now, I'll leave my resolution on 300 ppi. Ppi is an acronym for pixel per inch. And the reason why I'm going to leave it on 300 is because I have in the past or in one of our classes mentioned that once your resolution becomes too low, your design pixelates. Now, what I mean by pixelate, I explain. You begin to see the tiny dots, which are called pixels, that make up that design piece. So it makes your design difficult to comprehend, difficult to access, and also difficult or perhaps impossible for your users to read. Please, if we're together, I will want to get a reaction just so I am sure we are on the same page. So that is that. Now, the color mode, I explained the two most commonly used color modes. That's the RGB and the CMYK, where I say RGB is an acronym for red, green, and blue. And it is the color mode that is used when digital designs are being created. So any design that is going to be displayed on a screen, laptop, be it a phone, a tablet, has to be designed using this RGB color mode. I went ahead to say that CMYK, on the other hand, is an acronym for cyan, magenta, yellow, and key, where the key represents black. Those are the colors that are being fed into the printer. In essence, any design that is going to be printed that is not going to be viewed on screen has to be set to this very color mode. Otherwise, you're going to get different shade of color after your designing complete, after your design has been printed. So I'll leave my background on white. I'll leave my 8-bit. Every other setting I'm going to leave as default. Then I'll go ahead and click on create. Now this is our canvas. You can see that our canvas is a perfect square. Why? Because our width and our height value are the same. So I'm just going to go ahead, come here. These are my tools bar, right? This is where I find every tool I need to create my design piece. Then on this side, you can see that we have some panels, but the main panel or the major panel we'll be using is the layers panel. So this is the layers panel. Now under it, you can see we have background, right, with a thumbnail that has a white fill. So it is representing our canvas. And as you can see, it is locked. Sometimes people unlock and then use it as their background, but I won't be doing that. I'll be creating my background separately. Please, if you have a question, drop it in the comment section, please. Now I'm going to come to this tools bar and I'm going to look for the rectangle tool. The good thing about Photoshop is that, or most of these design tools, is that when you hover your mouse over any tool, it tells you the name of the tool and it also gives you an action button, a call to action button that allows you to either read about that particular tool, know how to use it, or to watch a quick video on how to use that tool. So we're just going to click on this rectangle, and then the moment we click, our cursor was like this. The moment we pick a particular tool, our cursor changes to a cross sign. So I'm going to place my cursor here, hold down the left button of my mouse, and then I'm going to drag it across the canvas. Now please don't bother yourself about all of these excesses you're seeing. The edges, you can see that I have some excesses. The reason is because they are not going to be printed. The rule is this: anything outside the canvas cannot be viewed and can also not be printed. So it doesn't matter if the rectangle you draw is equal to the canvas or not. Now by default it is showing me orange. Now the reason is because that was the last color I used. So by default Photoshop is trying to apply that same color to our new object or our new shape, believing that that is probably the color I want to use. But that is not the problem. This is not the color I want to use. The good thing is that I can always change my color. Now, as you can see in our layer panel, you can see that we now have an extra layer. The reason is because every design element is being placed on a separate layer, right? Every design element is being placed on a separate layer. So this was our default layer, which was our background layer that was locked. Now once it is locked, you can't modify it, you can't do anything with it. So this is our background layer. But when it is not locked, then you can manipulate it, you can format it and do anything you want to do with the content of the layer. So right now you can see we drew a rectangle and the rectangle is on a separate layer. So every single design element we're going to create here is going to be on a separate layer. And the reason is because it makes editing very, very easy. So if you want to work on the rectangle, you just pick the rectangle layer and then you do all of your modifications and move to the next element of design. Now back to our color. As you can see, we have a color thumbnail here. So it's telling us from here we can change the color of our rectangle, right? So this is fill. And then you can see we have the same color as what we have on the rectangle on our canvas. So this is our fill color right now. It is set to orange. Beside it, we have what we call the stroke color. Now, for us to change the fill color, all we have to do is to click on this thumbnail right? And then we're going to see the most recent colors that have been used. These are the most recent colors I have used for my designs in recent times. However, if you're not comfortable using, you say I'm just clicking. If you're not comfortable using any of these colors, probably because it does not align with your design or your brand's color, you can come here and click on the color picker thumbnail. This is the color picker thumbnail. You click on it once, and then the color picker dialog box pops up. So what you need to do once it pops up is to use this slider. You can see we have two sliders here, or a single slider with two edges, right? One handle on the left, one handle on the right. So you hold down the left button of your mouse and then you drag to the top, right? So if you want shades of red, you leave it on red. You want shade of purple, you drag to purples and then you leave it there. You want shades of blue, you drag down. The moment you get to shades of blue, you stop. Any color you want, just make sure that you place your cursor on your slider, hold down the left button of your mouse and then you drag to that shade of color, right? That's one way to use the color slider. Now, after you have set it from this very bar to shade of color you want, then you can come here and sample. You click here, you can see there is a change here. You want a darker shade of purple, scroll down, hover your mouse down, and then you click, it changes. You want something lighter, click, and then you can see that there is a change. Now, at the bottom part, we have current and then we have new. So what this current is doing is, it is telling us the current color that is applied to the element on our Canva, the particular element we're trying to edit, or which color we're trying to change. So it's saying that we have this lighter shade of white, or this white color applied to this by default, right? Or before we decided to use the color picker on it. And then the new color we just sampled here is this darker shade of purple. If we use our slider to go down and click on red, it will change, telling us that the new color we have sampled, even though we have not applied it to it, is red, and this is the current color. Now, the next way to use this very color picker is using the hex code. Let's say you have a particular color in mind and you have the hex code of that color, or you're working on a project and you're not working alone, probably you're working with someone and the person has sent you the hex code of your color. All you have to do is to come here and enter the hex code. It often comes with a hash, but you don't have to type the hash because already, as you can see, there is a hash here placed by default. So let's say the color hex code we want to work with is this, right? You can see I used A15288 and then it shifted straight to this shade of purple. So that's to say this hex color code is used to get this shade of purple. You can see our new has changed from red to purple. So I'm going to use FD. I need a white color, but then you're not advised. It's always advisable that we don't use 100% saturated color. So we're not using the max white, we're not using the max black, we're not using the max color yellow or any color. We're not using the highest or the most saturated shade of it. We're always toning it down a bit. That's why I'm not using 100% white, which is FFFFF in 6 places. So I'm doing FD. Now I'm going to click on OK to apply my color. So now we're here. The next thing we're going to do is to import the elements we'll be using for this design. However, I'm going to drop this tool. You can see that my cursor is still showing a cross sign. That means I am still holding one of these tools. And if you look at the tools bar section, you will see that our rectangle has a dark shade of gray border around it. That's to say this is the one that is active, so it's not supposed to be active because I am done using it. So I'm going to drop it by clicking on this. That's our move tool. I'll just click on the move tool once, and then you can see that it is no longer active, right? Instead, it is the move tool that is active. So the next thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to import the elements I'll be needing for this design. I'll be needing an image showing Kudi track, right? Displayed on the phone. That's one. The second thing I'll be needing is the Kudi track logo. Now all of those things are ready, so I'm just going to click on file in order to import, be it a picture or any element of design you need in order for you to come up with a very good design, or to complete your design, or to do your design. I'll just click on file, right? And then I'll click on place embedded. Please, if you have a question, kindly drop it in the comment section, please. I'm going to click on place embedded, right? The moment I click on place embedded, I'm going to see the entire content of my hard drive. Now from here, I can pick the location where the element I want to import is. So in my case now, the element I want to import, or the element of design I want to import, is on the desktop. So I'm going to locate the desktop here. You can see I'm using a scroll bar to scroll right. So I'm going to locate desktop. I'll click on desktop, and then I'll just go ahead and import my design element. Okay. Now you can import using this method. You can drag and drop. You can just go ahead, drag and drop. So I'm going to click, right? And then I'll click on place. And then it will place it automatically on my canvas. You can see that I have imported this. Now for it to be placed on the canvas properly, you have to check this box. You have to click on this check mark here. The reason is because we are having nodes now. It has been imported, but it has not been placed on the canvas. So Photoshop is giving you nodes. Now these nodes are to allow you or give you room to either resize, right? You can see I'm increasing it, to resize your imported element. So you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller before you click on the checkbox. You can also cancel, right? Let's take an instance. You wanted to import the logo and you went ahead to import this when you don't need it. You can just click on cancel, and then Photoshop will make sure that it's not placed on your artboard. Now the next way, or the other way through which you can import some of these elements of design, is by you just picking, opening the location where they are, you pick, you drag, hover over where Photoshop icon is, and then you release your mouse just like I did now, and then you're going to have this. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on OK. So the element, or the picture has been placed, right? So using the same method, I have imported 3 elements. I've imported the Kudi track logo. I have also imported a picture showing the Kudi track app. Now you can toggle between elements of design here on your layers panel. So I'm going to scroll down and then take out this one. I won't be needing it. I'll just click on it and then hit the delete key on my keyboard, or click on this delete option, and then yes, I want it off. So I'm just left with 2, right? Now I can resize. How do you resize an element of design? Place your cursor. You can see my cursor, it's looking like an arrow. Now the moment I place it around any of the nodes, what happens is it changes to a 2-edged arrow. So I'm going to place it, hold down the left button of my mouse, hold down the Shift and Alt key, Please, you can resize without holding any of those keys. However, when you hold the shift and the alt key together, that's concurrently, it resizes the object from every corner. So it gives you a uniform resizing while constraining the shape to a particular position. So if I place my cursor around any of the nodes is fine. It doesn't matter if you're doing from the left, the right, or the bottom or top node. So I'm going to hold down the left button of my mouse, hold the shift key and the alt key before I start resizing. Right? You can see our logo has been resized, right? The next way to do it, or the next option, is to just drag down or up to resize, right? You can see, so we just resize to suit our preference. So in this case, I want it to be probably this small. Yes, because it's a logo, so we don't want it dominating. I'm going to leave it here. Now I'm going to use this here. The reason why we have this displayed here, and I want it to be the hero section of our design, is because when you're creating a design for a brand or for a product, in a case where you're creating a design and the essence of the design is to promote a product, you are expected to use that very product as the focal point of your design, such that when people look at your design, the first thing they see is the product, so that the product will capture their attention to that design element or that design piece. So just like I said one time, if let's say a musician is going to a particular place to perform, and the musician is someone that is loved by many people, what happens is the designer, while creating a design to promote that very program, concert, or whatever, the designer uses the person's, that's the entertainer's picture, and the designer makes it the focal point of your design, such that when people turn and they see that very person, they will be interested in reading the other content of the design piece. So in this case, now we're trying to promote the Kudi Track app, so we have to present the Kudi Track app to people in a way that it makes them want to probably try it or pay attention to the flyer on which the Kudi Track app is displayed. Sorry guys. So the next thing we're going to do is this. We're going to make sure that our rectangle has the same color as any of those whites here. Since we're not using a pure white color for our background, there's a need for consistency and uniformity while creating your design. So we don't want a situation where we are having FD, FD, FD as white color on one part of our design, and then we're probably having FFF on another part of our design. So for uniformity and consistency's sake, what we're going to do will be to sample any shade of white from this very picture. That's the picture of our Kudi trap displayed on phone, right? So in order to do that, we're going to locate where our rectangle layer is. This is where we have our layers panel. Please, if you are confused, kindly drop your question in the comment section. This is where our layers is, right? We have our layers panel here, and then you can see that this image was generated using chart. So you can see the name of the image here. The logo too was generated using the same AI tool. So we're going to scroll down using any of the scroll bars. We're going to scroll down, and then we're going to locate our rectangle, which is our background color. Now, for us to change the color now, we can decide to double click on it. If we double click on it, what happens is automatically our color picker pops up. Please let me take that again. you locate your rectangle panel, right? You click on layers, you scroll either to the top or to the bottom, depending on where it is. Locate your rectangle panel. Make sure your cursor is sitting on the thumbnail. Now you double click. Your color picker pops up. So now instead of using our slider to sample color, right, we're going to use it to pick shade of white. Now watch, when it is here, it is circular in shape. The moment we bring it outside, it looks like a string or so. I don't know. But look at it. You can see that the shape has changed. So watch what happens. If you click on any part, it picks that color and it applies the color automatically to the selected object or shape. So in this case, we have our rectangle selected. If I pick this shade of yellow, it applies it automatically. If I pick this shade of green, it applies it automatically. But in this case, we want the shades of white. So we're going to pick this shade of white. Right, you can see I used FD, but if you come to this hex color section now, you can see that that is not what we have here. What we have here is FE. So for consistency's sake, we're going to stick to this. I'll just go ahead and click OK. Now we have changed the color of our background to fit or suit our picture. That's the image we're about to use. Now we have our logo here, right? Trying to make sure that our design is balanced. We have our logo here. One thing I want to do will be to let's add the name of the app. Yes, let's have it beside our logo. So let's pick up our text tool. Please, every tool we need for our design is here. So this is our text tool. The capital letter T you can see here is our text tool. So I'll click on it and then I'll come here and type Kudi track. Kudi track, right? That's the name of our app. So I'm going to highlight it. Then I'll check first. I'll check, then I'll highlight, right? Then I will change the color. So this is our fill color. Anywhere you see a thumbnail with color filled in it is your filled color. So you can always use it to change the fill color of your design. So I'm going to click on it and let's sample a shade of green. Let's see the shade of green that will work. No, this will be a bit off. So I'm sampling from this for consistency's sake. So we cannot have all of this here and then we begin to introduce new colors because this was generated using the brand color. Okay, so I think we'll have to use a gradient fill. But for now, let's leave it at this. So there will be a difference or a clear difference between it and our logo. So we'll just click on this to check. I'll drop my text tool. Please, any tool you use, make sure you return. So this is Kudi track, right? Alignment is important when it comes to design. So our logo and this should not have the same size, and it should also not overpower the logo depending on what exactly we are trying to do. In fact, at this point in time, it is safe to say that it is part of the logo. This is our logo text and this is our logo mark. So our logo text cannot be bigger than the logo mark. It's like saying a child is bigger than his or her parents. Yes, size wise, body wise, sometimes some kids can be bigger than their parent, but then there are in terms of other things they cannot be. So we're going to make it smaller. We're going to resize our text. Please avoid resizing manually. Always use make sure your text tool is active, right? And then always use your font size, right? So let's come here and then change our font size. You can see it's looking too small now. So we'll go back again and take it up to, let's do 24. So I think I am comfortable with 48. Yes, 48 is fine. So we're going to use 48. I'll make sure they align. As you can see, if I hover, you can see that the logo mark and these are sitting on the same line. That's the same starter line, which is not really proper. So I'm going to leave it here. Let it be clear that it's a child element, right? So the next thing I'm going to do will be to pick up my text tool again, and then let's have a slogan for this very app, which is our Kudi track. So what could be our slogan? Let's say track, right?